Oh, sorry. Yeah. Guy comes over to me today and says his father-in-law dilutes his grape juice 2 parts for 1 part grape juice, 2/3 water, and makes kiddush on that. The guy says, "I'm telling
Buy
you."
like grape juice.
What?
He could buy like grape juice. Doesn't have to do that himself.
Maybe he doesn't do like
So,
grape juice.
even light grape juice, there's a machlokes whether it works. All right, whether you can make but the kid says that I'm telling you, he says this tastes like water with a little bit of grape flavor. Right? And I said, "You do that for Yomi by any chance?" I said, "Well, maybe you ought to learn this today's daf and yesterday's daf." But I said, to me, it sounds like he's not yaitze, but I don't know. Right? It's way too much liquid. So I'm not sure. Technically, if you go with the numbers, it should work.
It's Yaakov. I think the dilution thing is only from back in the day when it was very, very strong. I don't know if you could dilute. If you dilute today's wine is be'etzim already diluted relative to the Gemara.
Right. So that's the problem. That is the problem. Yes.
100%. I'm not even getting to the grape juice thing. Even if you dilute wine, it might be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll see more of that in today's daf. So on the bottom line.
So this is a story I remember. Okay. Ganelis Lenga was a wine company that Kedem at one point took over. So he lived in Crown Heights, and for some reason they ran out of wine in the shul. So they asked him. They said, "Mr. Langer, can we add? How much water can we add to the wine?" They had a little bit of wine left in the shul. He says, "Don't worry, I did it already." So.
Very good.
Tie into what we told this younger man.
Yeah, funny. Anyways, so where were we holding? We were holding in the sugya of mixing together the wine. So we said that if you put in water into grapes, what do we call it? Dregs. Article is a different word for it.
Lees. You use lees.
Lees. What is lees?
That's from Shmuel David. I don't know what it is, but it's from.
Art Scroll teaches it as lees. Yeah. I don't know. It's the junk from the grapes, I guess, right? You put water on it. So if he put water on these lees or on these dregs, and he put in 3 cups of water and he pulled out 3 cups of water. So we said, everybody says that that's shahakol. There's no question about it. The machlokes, Rava had said the machlokes is, I think it was Rava. Yeah, Rava said the machlokes is, was it Rava? I don't remember. But anyway, so whether the machlokes is when you put in 3 cups and you pull out 3.5 cups, is that butter priyagofen or not? So that's what we're holding. So he held that that's the machlokes. So on the bottom line here, and if it's more than the midah, did they argue? What we learned in the Mishnah on Tamar Aleph now, hamasmade, right? Masmade is basically taking water, the same thing, taking water and putting it into grapes. And he poured water onto these grapes, whatever it is, and then when he pulled out the water, it was the same amount. All right, so like we said on the previous number, he put in 3 cups and he took out 3 cups. So now, let's say he did it. So do we consider that he has to take off meiser from this? Meaning, if we look at it like it's grapes, you have to take off meiser. If you look at it like it's water, then there's no water on meiser. So the Tanakama says he's potter because it went in water and it's water now. For Rav Yehuda Mechayev, Rav Yehuda says it's chayev. Right? And this is a chumrah for meiser. Yeah, so the Gemara asks, so here's the kasha. The whole machlokes, whether the water that got soaked with grapes is chayiv to take meiser, that's if it went in the same amount that it went out. But if it went more than its measurement, then there's no machlokes. right? It sounds like everybody would say that it's wine. So Rava said that 3.5 cups over 3 cups is a machlokes. Here it sounds like it's not a machlokes. So Gemara answers, who adin dafilu b'yasmik dem b'dasei pligi. More than the measurements, also machlokes. And then if more than a measurement is a machlokes, then why not teach that? That's a bigger chiddush than if you put in 3 ounces, you take out 3 ounces. That's to tell us the koyach of Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that even when you put in 3 ounces of water or 3 cups of water, and you pulled out 3 cups of water, you still have to take off ma'aser. So that's a bigger chiddush. So we'd rather teach the bigger chiddush, right? Even though normally the Gemara says that koyach to hetera adif, and we usually try and teach the bigger chiddush of a derabanan, of the makel, but here we try to teach the bigger chiddush of the machmer. Okay, so then again, so the Gemara is still saying it's not a kasha on Rava because everybody is arguing when you put in 3 and you take out 3, and the same thing would be put in 3 and take out 3.5. All right, so Baminer Rav Nachum Bar Yitzim Rav Chiya Bar Rav Shmarim sheyesh ben tam yayin mahu. What is the din of these shmarim? Right, if you drank water that has tam yayin, exactly what this kid saw, not exactly what this shiloh was with the diluting the grape juice. It's really water, but it has some tam of yayin. So ma, what's the din? Amalei misavras chamrahu. Do you think that that's chamra? Kiyua ba'almahu. It's just a smell, right? It's just a it's like we have our flavored seltzers, right? So it's not, you're not going to call a flavored seltzer. It says contains 0 juice. That's a whole different schmooze, right? But it's just a smell. There's no way you're going to say you change the bracha to Vara Priyagah, right? Okay. Tan Rabbanon shmarim shel truma. So let's say you have shmarim that are already truma, right? Minakayin has shmarim that are truma. So rishon v'sheni aser. When like when you make a coffee or you reuse a tea bag. So the first one has strength, obviously. You want to use it again, it's weaker. Use it a third time, it's mamish weak. So the same thing here. If you put water into the first round and then into the second round, those are aser. We consider them truma. Shlishi mutter, but the third round already is mutter because you're not getting much out of the grapes into the water. Rameir Reimer, af shlishi b'noisen tam. Rameir says, even a shlishi is nice and tam. Meaning Rameir is always the one that's more machmer. He says it's considered tam. B'shal ma'aser rishon, aser, but ma'aser rishon is aser. Meaning ma'aser rishon is something that the ma'aser has to be eaten so ma'aser rishon is for the Levi, yeah. So the first one is aser. I'm sorry, I messed up. V'shal ma'aser is talking about ma'aser sheni. Ma'aser sheni has to be brought up to Yerushalayim. It has to be eaten there. So shal ma'aser, so rishon aser. The first time you soak the grapes, it's aser. Sheni mutter. The second time is mutter. Rameir Reimer, af sheni b'noisen tam. Even the second one is also, meaning you have to taste it. If it gives taste, then it's considered wine. Shal hektish and shal hektish, a shlishi aser v'revi mutter. Rameir Reimer, af revi b'noisen tam. Even the fourth is based on giving tam. Okay, so it's a machlokes tanaim how far these grapes go in giving off taste to water. So when it says Ramini, I'll ask you kasha shall hektish la'olam aser v'shal ma'aser la'olam mutter. It says shall hektish, even if you do it 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, it's aser forever, and ma'aser is always mutter. So it's a stira. We said ma'aser you get 2 times or 1 time, right? And hektish we said 3 times. And here we're saying hektish is forever and ma'aser is never. So kasha hektish, kasha ma'aser. So when the answer is hektish like kasha, there's no kasha from hektish. Kan v'kedushas haguf, kan v'kedushas damim. There's this one is talking about kedushas haguf and one is talking about kedushas damim. Kedushas haguf means that it itself becomes kaddish, meaning it's a code word for saying that it's meant for the actual mizbeach, meaning it's not bedek habayis. It's not. I mean, you could have hektish where somebody donates their car to hektish. The car is not being brought onto the mizbeach. They're going to sell that car and use the money for the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash. That's called hektish, the kedushas damim. Kedushas Haguf is if you're actually like donating wine, animals, flour, and all that type of thing, fire, wood, maybe. So by Kedushas Haguf, so let's say it was these grapes were meant for the Nisa Chayayin, for the Karbonas. So since if they were made for Nisa Chayayin, now somebody pours water into them, it never loses its strength. But Kedushas Damim will after 3 times, and according to Rameir, 4 times. Meiser nami lekasha. Meiser sheni is not a kasha. Kan b'meiser vadai, kan b'meiser demai. One is talking about meiser vadai, meaning that's regular standard meiser, and one is talking about meiser of demai. Demai is from an amoritz, so Amaratim weren't scared of meiser, so they didn't take off meiser. So therefore, we're not. So since it's a suffix, we say that it's never a problem. Meaning, if you take grapes from an amoritz and then you put wine into the water into the grapes, we're going to say that it's not going to retain the grape flavor at all. That's by demai. But for meiser, we'll say 1 round it does, and after that not. Okay. So Rabbi Yochanan Mashum Shem ben Yotzada Kederach Shamru le'inyan Yisurin Kach Amru le'inyan Hechsheran. The same way they say it by Isser, we also say it by making it kosher. Now, what does it mean Hechsheran? Hechsheran means, and we've had this a couple of times, that before food can become tameh, it needs to have one of the 7 liquids wash it. And you have to want those liquids to be there. And then it becomes huchsher l'kabel toma. It becomes kosher to be makabel toma. The 7 liquids is wine, blood, oil, milk, tal, the dew, and honey, and water. Any one of those touches your fruits or your vegetables, then they could become tummy. But until they're wet, then it's not going to become tummy. Right? So the same thing here. When and they say when you take water and you pour it on these grapes.
Wet and detached.
Wet. What do you mean detached? What do you mean detached?
It's not, if it's hanging on the tree and it becomes
wet.
Oh
yeah, you can't mean it. Yes, yeah. It has to be wet once it's off the tree. Obviously, every fruit vegetable gets wet on the tree.
Anything.
Yes, thank you. Right? It's if it's wet on the tree, that doesn't count. It has to be off the ground, off detached. Right? So we're saying that the same machlokes that we had by hektish and meiser, that it depends on how many times you're soaking the grapes. Right? So if you poured over for truma, if you poured it a second time, then it's wine. And if you poured it over a third time, then it's considered water. And then if that water or wine goes and spills on fruits, then it's going to be huchshel l'kabel tuma. So the question is obvious. Hechsher and demai. What hechsher are we talking about here? I mean, what's your shiloh? Whether it's considered wine or whether it's considered water? They both have the same din. Right? Hechsher and demai. So what hechsher are we talking about? Eat demai, hechsher and machsher. If it's considered water, it makes it kosher. Eat the chamra, and if it's wine, then hechsher and machsher also makes it kosher. What's the difference? So my answer is like tzricha shetimdu b'meik shamim. It's talking about where the water that was being used to soak the grapes was rainwater. Right? Well, so what's a pshat here? Now you have an interesting machlokes Rashbam and Tosfos.
We said dew is one of the liquids.
Dew is one of them.
Wouldn't rainwater be one of the liquids?
It's true, but the question is, do you want the rainwater to touch it? Meaning, another requirement of it being kosher, you have to want it to get wet. Right. So if it rains on it, and you didn't want it to rain on it, then it's not huchshel l'kabel tumah.
Right, it's nothing to do with liquids.
Right. So then the Gemara is saying it's talking about where it rained on there. So what? So the Rashbam says pshat is that rainwater you need to care that it touches it. But the other 6, honey and dew, I don't know about dew, but honey and wine, all that you don't. If it touches it, it touches it. Finished.
All of them.
No, so that's what the Rashbam says. The Rashbam says, right? It says it only applies to water. So that's why we're saying there's a nafkamina between whether it's water
we had this
or wine.
Goes ahead and puts honey on your food without you knowing. And it's Hushal Tuma. You didn't care. You didn't want it.
Huh? Right. You're not.
I go to your
You're
field
not.
and I put honey on it.
Correct.
You don't want it. You don't even know about it. Now it's Hushal Tuma.
According to the Rashbam, yes. Taisvis doesn't like it. Taisvis doesn't like it. Taisvis says, how could that be?
We
Right?
had this already in the Gemara.
What's Taisvis' lashon? It's interesting lashon in Taisus. Taisus in the Taisus Leitzricha says, "Vein nira l'rashba deloy ashkach b'shum duchta sheyeh chashivas b'yayin mi b'mayim le'inyan hechsher." We don't find anywhere where it says this, right? So, yeah. So that's what Taisus doesn't like. But I'm looking for Taisus pshat. I think what Taisus is saying is that it's gonna be automatically nicha. But anyways, whatever it is, so that's what the Gemara is saying. So we're talking about where rainwater fell. The guy has his grapes outside, and then rainwater fell into the bucket, and now it soaked it. So if it's considered rainwater, so let's go with the Rashban's shot. If it's considered rainwater and he didn't want it to touch the grapes, so then it's tar. But if you say that rainwater now in the third time or the second time sucked up the taste of the grapes, then it's automatically huchshel l'kabatum. Okay, but then the Gemara asks, "V'chivan the kashakel v'rami lulamana achshavinu." Well, once you take that rainwater and pour it into the dregs or the lees, then that means you already machshavit, right? So it says talking about where it went by itself, meaning the rain fell into the bucket. The havamina was, I think I said the havamina I said the maskana in the havamina. Meaning the havamina was that it fell into the bucket of rain, and then you went and added that bucket to the dregs. So that's what the Gemara is saying. By adding the bucket, that shows by adding to the bucket of the dregs, then you are showing that you're happy with the rainwater. So it must be that it rained directly into the dregs. So I'm going to ask, keep it the kanogid, kama, right? But once he starts taking one by one, so then achshavinu, then he's machshavit, right? So then, meaning by you pouring out and putting more things in, so that means you're being machshavit. It's talking about a para that is drinking from every time it rains, a cow comes and drinks from it, right? And that's what's watering down the grapes, meaning you have your bucket of grapes. It rains in there, you're very unhappy about it. And a cow comes and drinks up the water. So you so far did not make it kosher because you weren't interested in the rain. Then it rained again and the cow came again. And now the third time you want to use it. So then the same machloikis, by whether it's considered wine for hektish and truma, applies for making it kosher to be makabel tuma. Yeah. Okay. So that's a little technical. Now we get into some very geschmacka practical. Yeah.
Does that mean that we're not considering them grapes anymore? It's a slightly different issue, whether we consider something wine or we're being machshir the grapes, the dregs.
What?
It's one thing to say that the water that comes out is either wine or not. But to say that it's not machshir or it is machshir, that's whether they're grapes or not. It's definitely water, and I want it there.
Yeah, it's definitely water.
So arguing whether we consider the dregs grapes or not?
No, we're arguing whether you consider that water to be machshir l'kabel tuma.
Why not? If I wanted to be on the grapes or the dregs, why would it not be machshir l'kabel tuma?
No, meaning you in order for these grapes to go be, or the liquid to go make something else tummy? What are the requirements?
I need to want it there.
Right. So the question is, well, according to the Rashbam, you don't. If it's wine, you don't need to want it there. If it's water, you need to want it there. If it's wine, you don't need to want it there. Right. Yeah, anyways, that's what it's saying. The shaila is, that's the way the Rashbam is understanding it. Anyways, okay, it's late, so let's go a little weiter because there's a lot of interesting things on this next Talmud. Yeah, Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tovia. We're still on Tzadi Zayin Amar Aleph. Very quiet oilam tonight. Yeah. Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tovia Amar Rav Ein Amrim Kiddush Hayoim Ela Al Hayayin Haroy LeNasach Legavi Mizbeach. You are not allowed to make Kiddush unless it's made with wine that they can be used to pour onto the Mizbeach. Okay, so what is this coming to exclude? Say lemute mai. What do you exclude? Ilem lemute yain migasoi or gitoi. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. If it's basically it's grape juice, fresh pressed grapes. Is fresh pressed grapes wine or not? So what I'm saying, if you're saying that it's coming to exclude grape juice, batani rabchia yain migitoi lo yavi, you should not lechatchila use yain from, meaning grape juice, for the sachem and the mizbeach. V'mhevi kosher. If you did, it's kosher. Now, what's the problem? Because the pasuk says nesech sheichar. It has to be something that can be intoxicating, and grape juice is not intoxicating. The kivendim hevi kosher, but since lemaisa, if you bring it, it's kosher. Ananafilu lechatchila nami. So we could also lechatchila too. So l'chayra. And I'm a wine kiddush man, but l'chayra, this is a raya, straight raya, that grape juice is fine to make kiddush with.
When the Gemara says yayin, that's referring to grape juice, or it's referring to fresh wine?
No, fresh grapes. Yayin megisoy, right?
So why is it?
Tirosh. Second line up in the response says tirosh means fresh squeezed grapes.
Uh-huh. And the Gemara is calling it yayin because I guess it is yayin.
Right.
And the Gemara calls it kamikaze all over the place.
It's not yayin yet.
It is.
Well, no, it has a din yayin.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Gemara is calling it yayin, so like I always think in my head, like, oh, grape juice is like some other category, and then there's wine. But grape juice really, it sounds like, if that's the shot in the Gemara, then it is yayin. It's just not intoxicating yayin because it's fresh.
Right. So that's what we're saying. So now the question is there?
Well, it depends if you hold like the first sheet of the Rashbam or the second sheet of the Rashbam.
What do you mean over here?
Yeah, the first sheet that learns the Gemara means not that it's wine, but that it's not likuva.
Correct.
So that it's not a raya, that it's wine, according to that shita.
Right. Now the question is there a maila to drinking wine for kiddush or not? Because lamaisa, it says we're saying that if it's kosher b'diyev for the mizbeach, then it's mutter, then it's kosher lichatchila for kiddush, right? Okay, but lamaisa, is it better to make kiddush with wine? Doesn't sound like it from this Gemara. Now the Taisus on the bottom here says, don't prove from here that yayin mavushal is kosher l'kiddush, and you can make bayrei priya eitz. Right? And then Taisus ends, it says, because there are shitas that say yayin mavushal is shahakol. What?
You said bayrei
priya gofen, I'm sorry, right? Yes, thank you. And Taisus brings shitas that it's shahakol. So that's why some people are makbid not to make kiddush with yayin mevushal, right?
And where did the other cases fall in?
Same dinam. Well, Ramosha holds that it has to be, so it's cherus, derech cherus. And Ramosha says it has to be with alcohol in it. Okay, I'll tell my base. So again, we're trying to look for which wines are not, can you not be Yaitza Kiddush? Dama Rava, Saichet Adam Eshkol Shalanovim, a person could squeeze, this Ben, it says it right here, Beferish, right? A person could squeeze an Eshkol, what do you call an Eshkol? A cluster of grapes. Vaymer Alav, Kiddush Hayom, and he could say on it, Kiddush Hayom. So therefore, grape juice is fine. It's coming to exclude if you take wine from the mouth or from the bottom of the barrel.
And Kiddush Hayom here means the mitzvah of Kiddush Hayom, not Kiddush by day.
Huh?
Kiddush Hayom here means the mitzvah of Kiddush Hayom, to be Mekadosh Hayom, rather than Kiddush by day.
Yes.
What's he
Means
saying?
that Kiddush Hayom doesn't mean Kiddush of the day.
No, it means
It
Friday
means
night.
Kiddush
Also.
by Friday night. No, by Iker Friday night.
Okay.
Not also. For Shabbos
Right.
day is a, yeah.
It's a Durabana.
Yeah.
It's a whatever. It's yeah. I mean, if you took wine from the mouth or from the bottom, meaning the top, all the junk floats to the top, and then there's junk on the bottom. So maybe there that's not considered chashav a wine, and it won't work on the mizbeach. So it won't work for kiddush either. You should not bring wine for the mizbeach from the top or from the bottom. Vim kosher, but if he did, it's kosher. It's coming to exclude yayin kushi, black wine. Burk is white wine. Hilston is the Rashbam says very sweet wine. I think by what do you call it? Matuk. The matuk wines, right? That stuff is like cough syrup, right? And even and shalmartef and wine from a martef, from a cellar, which we learned that a martef is, you can have some bad wines down there. Shal tmukim or raisin wine. So maybe those you can't make kiddush with. But Tanya, but we have it in Brisa, Bekul and Loyavi, and all these things you shouldn't bring it. Ve'im hevi kosher, but if you did, it's kosher. So you can't say that these wines is not kosher. So you see white wine. Now, is there okay, well, let's wait for later. What is it coming to exclude? Yayin kaisis. It's coming to exclude sour wine, or wine that's becoming sour. Mazug is diluted wine. Megula, if it's wine that was left open, which we know we're worried about snakes. V'shel shmarim, and wine that made from shmarim, like we've been learning, taking water and putting it into the dregs. V'sharei chayra, and bad smelling wine. Tanya, bekulan lo yavi. Heavy puzzle, and here we said by all these, don't bring them for the nesachim, and if you did, you're not yotze. Bim heavy puzzle, then it's puzzle. So maybe that's
what's the difference between mishuleha and shmarm?
I think mishuleha is just is from the actual wine.
You didn't dilute it.
Well, no, you didn't take
mix
the
it
junk.
with water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I think. Right, so then maybe it's coming to exclude all these. So the Gemara says, "Lamute mai." What are you saying? Now the Gemara goes through each one. Ilamute kaisis. If you're saying it's coming to exclude the wine that's becoming sour, look to Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shua Levi. That's actually machlokes Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shua Levi from yesterday's daf. Right, one said that is considered wine, and one said it's not considered wine. Ilamute. So mamela what? So either it's wine or it's not wine. There's no reason, meaning who's he going like? All right, so it can't be. So that can't be what he's talking about. And ilamute mazog, if it's coming to exclude diluted wine, uluya aliyah, diluted wine actually upgrades it. Damar of Yosef Rav Chanina, ma'idem chachamim l'Rabbi Elazar b'kaishel bracha by a kaishel bracha. Let's say it was birchas hamazon. She'ein mevarchen alav achi yitin l'soicha mayim. That you don't make you can't bench unless you put water into it, which some people still have that minhag nowadays, that they pour a little bit of water into the kiddush before they make kiddush, I think it's because of this. Our stuff is already diluted, or it's not nearly as strong, so it's not necessary, but some people still keep the azam minhag. Okay, ilamu magula, and if it's coming to
Svardim add the water, but it's more like a alpi kabbalah, the chesed, dilute the din of the wine.
Right here,
it's a different.
It's not nothing to do with this.
No, you put 3 drops. Can I get chesed? And then there's you hear there in the Ben Ish Chai has like a l'shem yuchad that you say, and it's like a whole. It's like he brings it out like it's almost like a mitzvah to do it.
Yeah. Okay, I imagine it originally started with this, but I don't know. Okay, and the ilimut and megula, and if it's coming to exclude megula, sakani, it's a sakana. Right? You can't ever drink it. What he's saying, you can't have it for kiddush. When you can't have it even not for kiddush. Ilimut shel shmarim, and if it's coming to exclude the dregs, heichi dami, well, then what's the case? Either rama tilsa v'asa arba, like we said in yesterday's daf, if you put in 3 cups of water and you pulled out 4, chamar malyu. He said that chamar malyu, that's good wine. Either rama tilsa v'asa tilsa palga, and if it's you put in 3 cups and you took out 3.5 cups, plukta the rabbanon v'acherim, it's a machlokes rabbanon and acherim, like we learned yesterday. So what is it coming to exclude? Meaning, we have exclusions here, but that can't be what he's coming to teach. Ella lemuute shereich must be coming to exclude yayin that has a bad smell. Right? Meaning the wine itself is good, but it tastes bad. Not tastes bad, smells bad. Right? So we're saying that this wine you cannot use for kiddush, or another. It's coming to exclude wine that's megula. And even if you filtered it, Nehemiah, right? Nehemiah had a way to filter. He felt that you could filter out the snake venom. The reason why gilui is a problem is because we're afraid a snake drank from it, right? So and it's not just wine; it's really any liquid. So So this is a pasuk that says, bring it if you want, right? And vachescha means to somebody who's in charge, right? Is he going to want it? And is he going to turn his face towards you? Meaning, look at Kiddush or anything religious as if you're being makriv to a human. Is the human going to be happy with what you're doing or not? So Mamela, your Kiddush has to be fit and proper for a human. So you wouldn't give smelly wine to a human, and you wouldn't even give gilui wine to a human. Which, by the way, I think we discussed this once in the shir. So this, even though nowadays we're makel with gilui, right? Shulchan Aruch says nowadays if you don't live near snakes, gilui is not a problem. Right? I don't know for Ben because there's snakes in Arizona, right? At least the baseball team. Right? Says
no snakes. Yeah, over here.
No snakes in Phoenix?
No, not so far.
Okay. So
been more in California than here.
Okay, so if you don't live near snakes, so then the Shulchan Aruch paskins that you don't have to do gilui. You don't have to worry about gilui. But for Kiddush, you do have to worry about gilui. We paskin that for Kiddush, you do. So basically, let's say you pour the Kiddush, right? And then your wife needs help in the kitchen. So you poured the Kiddush, and then everybody went into the kitchen to help out, and you left. The shear of gilui is like a few seconds.
So it's like
and you left the pour, if you left the wine by itself with nobody in the room, l'chayra, that you cannot use that wine for Kiddush. Chacham, there you go.
Mr. Brewer says if it was Megula for a little bit, he says not to be makbeh nowadays, as long as the tam and reach are still good.
Who says this?
Mr. Brewer.
As long as it doesn't taste like a snake.
Yeah, I mean, he says for sure if you don't have other wine, you shouldn't be makbeh b'diavad.
Yes, avada, but I'm saying, but you should really get rid of that wine. L'chatchila, you should get rid of that wine. Well, you don't have to get rid of it, just the Kiddush, just not for Kiddush. Meaning, leave that cup and pour yourself another cup for Kiddush. Because again, not because the sakana, because you don't serve Hashem what you wouldn't serve to a human.
Can you matakin it by adding more wine to it, or that doesn't work?
No, because if the chashash is snake venom, then the snake venom. That's it. So just drink it for your wine during the Suda. That's fine. Right.
What about the bottle? If you leave the bottle open without covering the bottle itself,
be the same issue.
So any opening, no matter how small.
If you open, I think so. If you open your wine to air it out, right? Because you're a chashuv guy, so you need to air out your wine, right? So now, better make sure you're around. Right. Yeah. So anyway, so that's that din. Now what's with white wine? Can you make Kiddush with white wine or not? So it says it's mutter. So it says it's mutter. But well, let's the next Gemara. Well, let's see the next Gemara. So he asked from Rava, Chamar Chivarian Mao, what about white wine? What's the din with white wine? So Amarle, Altera Yayin Ki Yisadim. It says, don't look at, this is talking about Musar and Mishlei, about don't become an alcoholic, don't look for drinks. So don't look at wine that's red. Mashma, that wine is red. So it sounds like red wine, yes, white wine, no. Right? But the Rashbam says, B'di'evid, it doesn't say B'di'evid, he says, you first, red wine should come first before white wine, but it doesn't mean that it's usher. So you can make Kiddush and white wine. I think the Mishnah Berurah, the Sharatzian, says that if you like white wine more than you like red wine, then you should make Kiddush on white wine. But if all things being equal,
the Ramban says it's possible even b'diavad white wine, but the first day on Shulchan Aruch says you can do it, and and Mishnah Berurah says l'chatchila you should do red wine.
Correct. So it's a red. L'chatchila is red wine, but l'mais, if you like, I think in the Sharatzian, I think he says if you like white wine better, then do on white wine. Right.
The Rashbam seems to go that way. He says that he doesn't learn he only learns our Gemara the Gabe Masachim. He says the Gabe Kiddush, it's linear. That's what the Gemara is talking
about. Why aren't we transferring it to Kiddush? You're saying because the same way we said on Amud Aleph that.
Right, because over there we said that it's B'di'evid works for Nesachim. Right.
Yeah, I hear. Okay, good.
When the Gemara says white wine here, when the Gemara uses this term, Chamar Chivarian, does it mean wine from white grapes or any white wine?
I don't know. Now you ask me.
Is it like a rosé?
Red. What?
You saying like a rosé? Is that considered white or red?
No. You can make white wine from red grapes. The fruit, the pulp is not red in red grapes. The juice comes clear. They make it red by leaving the skins in.
Yeah, now you're asking, what do you call it? The Gra didn't eat grapes on Rosh Hashanah, right? And some say it's black grapes. Regular grapes, he had no problem with. He had a problem with black grapes.
I'm not so sure I eat grapes on Rosh Hashanah either.
Top of the Amud.
I'm not sure I eat grapes on Rosh Hashanah either, but I don't know if there's any halachic reason.
Yeah.
At the top of the Amud is Yain Kushi and Burek. Burek was white wine.
Right.
And here he calls it Chamar Chivarian.
Yes. We were wondering about.
The Rashbam asked that question.
Why would but it's the Rashbam asked it like that?
He says they're size to each other. Like, if you're asking this question, what about the Brisa? He says he didn't know about the Brisa.
But that's why
meaning why he's going Lishitasi. If he's learning it up that it's talking about Nesachim, why is he asking such a question? It's already answered that you could use it for Nesachim.
Right. No, but he's asking what's it called? The Gershon is asking about the Lashon. Why is the Lashon?
That's what I'm saying. Rashbam learns the same thing.
Rashbam says the Hainu Yayin Burek.
Right.
Yeah.
But even then, does that mean that there's less chashivas to wine made from white grapes, or there's less chashivas to white wine from red grapes because it wasn't fully fermented?
Right.
Well, it seems it's because it wasn't fully fermented. That's the Gemara's mashma throughout.
Then our white wines, about 3/4 of them are from white grapes. That would be the same as red wine. No difference.
Right. Okay, so let's see a little vita. I don't know what the shot would be. Kamkanan b'sharon. So we said that if you have jugs in Sharon, then you have to be makabel 10 bad jugs. So Gemara says Tana pitzon, if meaning the it's bad jugs, nice umegufros. They're meaning they're nice and they're also sealed. Right, so from those barrels, you have to accept 10 bad ones. But if it would be messed up barrels, then you would not have to accept 10. Right, and that's what you would go with. Yeah. Okay, we'll stop over here. Tomorrow we're starting 8 o'clock, right? Because we got to do like a blot and a half, blot and 3/4 tomorrow, and I would go weiter now, but I see the items dropping off like flies, so it's whatever.
Who's dropping off? Marav? What are they doing?
I don't know. I'm saying if you guys went off already, so
Where are they going?
I don't know where they're running to. Ich weiß nicht. The Mets already won.
It could be the early Jakob, the early
on the plane.
Slichos, right? That's true.
early, you know, they gotta prepare for the early slichos.
Yeah, I guess. Stop the recording.